All right, guys. I think yes, we are live, and we have a special guest, Ken Jee, today. Can't couldn't wait any more for him, but here we are, and Kenji is one of the best guys in data science. We already know it. Hashtag 66 days of data, sports analytics, and obviously we are talking a lot more about golf because that's one of his favorite sport. If you have checked his Instagram, I know about it. I don't know about you. So without wasting any more time, I think it's time to get Ken here. Here we go. Hello, Ken. Welcome to the Ravit Show. How does it feel? It's 7 a.m. there.
7 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm usually a pretty early riser. This is around when I get up. So it's maybe a 30-minute earlier wake up call. And I took a shower just for you guys so I don't smell too funky through the video.
But you're looking all good. It's like so
Thank you.
fresh at 7 a.m. That's what we would like. And can't agree anymore. So, Ken, tell us something about yourself. But before you introduce and before you go ahead with it, I would like to let everyone know that we are giving away Udemy courses, right? So 5 Udemy courses for 5 amazing questions. So do ask some great questions to Ken about hashtag 66 days of data, sports analytics, and golf. So here we go. Yes.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ken Jee. I'm the head of data science at a small sports analytics consulting firm called Scouts Consulting Group. I'm probably better known for my YouTube channel. I make a lot of videos related to data science projects, how to break into the data science field, things you should know when interviewing, and also some tutorial style content as well. I'm branching out. I've also recently started a podcast called Ken's Nearest Neighbors, where I bring in a bunch of people from the data science community, from just my broader world, to talk to them and understand how they got to where they are, what steps they took, and maybe what they've learned along the way. Yeah, well, of course, I do a lot of the sports analytics. I happen to, since I moved to somewhere warmer, I happen to play quite a bit more golf as well. So questions around those types of things are always welcome. I forgot to mention, I also started the 66 Days of Data initiative, which has
exactly
which is arguably something that I'm the most proud of. It's really there's been an incredible community around that, and we have over, I think, 2,500 people in the Discord server. We have hundreds of people posting every day about what they're learning, and that's something that's a tribute to the community. I just kind of got this stone rolling, but so many people have picked this up and made it into something truly incredible that I absolutely could not have done on my own.
Exactly. And 66 days of days, how can you even forget, Ken? It's like the biggest thing you have created for data science community, and people there are following you so much. Okay, we have some people joining in. I'll just quickly, let's greet them. So Ayush is here. Hi, Ayush. Hi, Ken.
Hey, guys.
We have Aditi. Aditi is my wife. She's joined in. So
thanks for joining. Aditi. Showing support. I love that.
Yes, family is always there. They're like, oh, it's happening today, we'll join in, we'll see how you're doing, and they're the best critics, trust me.
I have to scold my parents for not showing up.
Okay, Abhishek Yadav is here. Again, we have LinkedIn user. I've always had LinkedIn user, someone who's Kate Strachny, but we don't know who this LinkedIn user is. So yes, Neeraj Satpal is here. Good to see you both.
Awesome. Thank you for so many of you guys tuning in today.
Exactly. We have Daksh. Hey Daksh, how are you? Andrew is joining us. Hi Andrew, how are you? Evening at Andrew's place, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, Giovanna as well.
Oh yes. Gio is here. Hi Gio. So everyone's there, Ken. Everyone's looking at you and wanting to know about everything about your journey. I was so excited all the time. Didn't get the time to promote it that well, but obviously here we are, and you don't need promotion. You're just out there, and people know you so well. So yes, wanted to just touch a little base on sports analytics. Since you are the head of data science and you work closely in sports analytics, what is it for a layman? I've always tried to understand from you. I've always been there listening to you about sports analytics. I know I kind of have an idea, like we discussed, obviously, but still, I want to know about it. What do you exactly do? How does it work? What are the prep? What is in the background do you do to make sports better? So yeah.
So there's a couple different branches of sports analytics. So the main one is you're trying to improve the performance of athletes when they're actually playing, and that's with the goal of getting more wins. So you're trying to create efficiencies or find inefficiencies in other teams so that your players or your team or the people you're working with can create better outcomes for themselves. So you're trying to make these very incremental 1% changes across a lot of areas of performance to hopefully get maybe one or two more wins over the course of the season, which can be extremely meaningful in a lot of sports. An example would be, our biggest sports are golf and basketball. And so for a golfer, we might go in and analyze an area of their game. Let's say it's their putting. And so we might come to find that they are really struggling with putts that are 6 to 12 feet compared to every other distance. So, we can go in and tell them to start working on that range. But we can go even a step deeper and say, oh, where are you missing them? You're missing them low, you're missing them on the high side of the hole, you're missing them short, you're missing them long. And so they're getting a really specific and targeted approach to getting better at the game. And that's what this is all about, is just giving people the roadmap to improve, helping them understand either what they're great at or what their shortcomings are. The other side of sports analytics is looking at the broader game and telling stories about it. I mean, if you look at a game on TV, whether it's American football, soccer, or whatever it is, you see graphics on the screen. You see people using statistics to explain what's going on. And that's a really important part as well, is fan engagement, is getting people excited about what's going on. We don't personally do at our company as much of that. We're very focused on the performance side. But to me, that is one of the largest growing areas, is you see people just love learning about the statistics. You love learning that, this player, he's the first person to ever, to do something or to score in a certain number of games in a row, whatever that might be. The last area, which is becoming more and more popular, is the sports kind of gambling side. So sports gambling was federally effectively legalized in the U.S. I believe it was either last year or the year before. And that's a completely different type of challenge. You're trying to predict outcomes in the games. Rather than improve someone's performance or tell a good story, you're trying to evaluate what is going to happen with a high probability of understanding. Wow. So that's something that for a data scientist is a very fun and fascinating problem, is can my model outperform what the consumer sentiment is, what the experts believe, and can it beat the casinos or whatever that might be, and can I actually make money doing that? I'm personally not allowed to do any betting on sports because of some of the data sets that I have access to. But to me, I wouldn't recommend that anyone bets on anything. I think gambling can be a slippery slope. But if you're thinking about, hey, I really want to test my models in sports to see if they're doing well, you can look at the betting lines and see if you can perform better than them.
Right, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. George here actually said that. That's a money ball right there.
That is.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're that much pioneers, but I would hope that we're on the cutting edge of kind of the sports analytics for golf space.
Yes, definitely. But this is amazing. This is something which we just think of, and we are wondering there that, okay, a player is out there and doing some stuff, but there's a lot behind the player, and that's what you look at, and that's what sports analytics is all about. But I'm sure it's not as easy as you're telling about it. It is very complicated. I will need to take some classes from you to understand, so obviously, about sports analytics.
I have a couple of videos out there, so
Yes. Oh, and we know about your videos. It's completely awesome. So yeah, Matthew Emmerich is here. Matthew Emmerich is, what is one thing you wish people would realize about working with data? Okay. So this is more related to hashtag 66 days of data.
Yeah, so I think one of there's a couple things, but the biggest thing for me is that working with data is not a linear process. It's not clean. It's not straightforward. You go down a lot of rabbit holes, and you have to in order to be successful. You have to try different things. It's more about experimentation than knowing exactly what to do. I get a lot of questions on my videos, for example. Hey Ken, can you walk through like exactly what I should do in an exploratory data analysis? And the answer is no,
Exactly.
I can't, because each exploratory data analysis is a little bit different. It's based on the data. It's based on the types of questions that you're asking of the data. So I think that especially for people that are new to the field or are learning, understanding that this isn't clean. This is something where you're going to have to try different things. You're going to get stuck. I mean, I get stuck in every single project that I do. So it's not something that is going to be as clear cut as maybe like, well, I guess like most software engineering isn't that clean cut, but there are some use cases that are very boxed in and very like you just kind of copy from somewhere else. So like, this is exactly what I have to do. Working with data is almost never like that.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. I guess that answers for Matthew there. Also, I have an interesting question from Andrew regarding basketball. Can give us some insight on who is the
Oh,
GOAT, LeBron or
the
MJ?
goat. All right, Andrew. I've been asked this question multiple times, and if you want to look at it from, well, it depends. So in sports, everyone will tell you it's about championships. I tend to like, I agree with that, but I don't agree with that. Like, championships are what every team strives for, and that's what every organization is built around. And Michael Jordan was better in that aspect, right? So
Right.
in terms of value to an organization, I think I would put Michael Jordan at the top of the list. If we're looking at pure statistics, if we're looking at performance, um, like raw performance, I think you could argue that LeBron, in terms of career longevity, a lot of the elements that he brings to the game in terms of his athleticism, his physicality, all this stuff, he might edge out Jordan, but you'll never hear me say that LeBron is better than Jordan. I lived in Chicago for 5 years. I might get, if I went back and visited, I might get attacked on the street. So um, I think I'll leave it at that.
It's a close call, but you still give them 2020, so that's all right.
Exactly.
So yes. Also, there's an interesting question from Kostub. He is saying where to start in sports analytics. Very fair, because sports analytics is kind of new for everyone. It's kind of niche in itself. So this is kind of, yeah, good question.
Yeah, so sports analytics, I don't look at it as any different than starting in data science or data analytics. I would start with finding some resources online. My favorite book is called Mathletics. There's another really good book. It's not like super technical, but it gives you an idea about what sports analytics is about. It's called Sprawl Ball. It's related to basketball. It's by Kirk Goldsberry. It's one of the coolest books I've ever read. I would start maybe with those, but as soon as you can, you want to start evaluating some real data. There's data on Kaggle. There's plenty of data on the internet, and just experimenting with it, seeing what's there, seeing if you can find trends, seeing if you can predict outcomes, seeing it, like, understanding what like minutes played correlates with, or looking at some of the more advanced stats. There's a lot of really good sports blog content out there on the internet. So whatever sport you're interested in, I can guarantee you there was a blog that talks about analytics for that sport somewhere. This takes a little bit of Googling out there.
Completely, I understand. But talking of books, Ken, when are you writing a book on sports analytics? We can't wait to have a book.
We'll see. That's something. One of my goals is to write a book in the next 5 years. So I, I think that I would really want to reinforce my own knowledge of these things. I mean, right now, my knowledge in golf and basketball is fairly specific. And I'd
Right.
like to branch out and understand what are the similarities between all of these different sports. Something in sports analytics that's very interesting is you're always evaluating, or like this theme across sports is you're evaluating players against a benchmark, like an average player, which I think is a very
Right.
interesting phenomenon, which started kind of with Moneyball. So in baseball, it started with wins above replacement. You could compare any player's wins above replacement to any other player, right? In golf, we have this concept of strokes gained, where you can look at any shot that they hit, whether it's a putt or a drive, and you could say how
Right.
many strokes it helped them improve upon the field by. So that idea of kind of normalizing is something really interesting in sports, and it should be generalizable across all of them. But it gets harder
Exactly.
for basketball, where it's a dynamic game. There aren't stops. And I'm very interested in kind of exploring those problems and understanding how we evaluate performance in across the different sports over time.
Yes, definitely. I think getting that generalized view first and then maybe writing a book would make a lot of sense to a larger audience, and that's what you're looking at. And definitely, we can't wait for that. Okay. So, okay, we have a question from George. Like, Ken, what are some sports data sets that you wish you had access to?
Wish I had access to. Um, so right now, Kaggle has the Big Data Bowl competition going on right now. Uh, that is an awesome data set, but I
Yeah.
wish there was more NFL football data that was available in that kind of same fashion. That is a really cool area, and that I don't have access to. I have access to the golf and basketball, but football is kind of off my radar. That's an area I'd like to explore more. I've been getting a lot of questions about cricket, and I've been a little bit bad about responding to some of those, but that's something I would like to explore more. And in the last LinkedIn Live I did with Kate, someone had reached out offering to introduce me to someone in that space, and that has fallen off my plate. So I need to get back to that person about that.
Wow. Amazing. We can't wait, Ken. There are so many opportunities that you are exploring, and we're just looking at you close. We spoke about book, and Sasha says we need a book on this topic. I haven't seen much literature on sports analytics out there yet. Definitely, because obviously, when we earlier spoke as well, I mentioned it to you that we don't have a book on sports analytics. It's just not out there. There are obviously the columns that you are mentioning about that there will be a column about analytics or maybe sports analytics, but it's not been highlighted that well. People don't know that it's a job out there, and it's such a huge and such an important job. So yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense. Okay, Chayan Katuria has a question. What is the one thing that every beginner goes wrong with while learning data science? Interesting.
I wouldn't say, I don't think it's fair to generalize every beginner. I'm sure there's some beginner that doesn't do this wrong, but most people, I think beginners get it wrong by trying to really learn, go too deep down learning the foundations. At
Right.
least for me, when I start programming something, when I start building something, that's when I truly understand it. If I read source documentation, if I read all these tutorials over and over again, I get stuck in this tutorial hell where that's all I do and that's all I know how to do. Programming, data
Yes.
science, all of these things, they're problem-solving tools. And the sooner you start solving problems with them, the better you understand them, the quicker you understand them. So my advice is almost always like you should absolutely get some foundation in Python and statistics, but a little bit before you feel like you're ready to move on onto a project, you should move on to a project.
Definitely makes a lot of sense there. We have a question from Manisha Jain. Hey Kenji, what is your favorite topic in data science? Very general question, but kind of curious to know about it.
Interesting. I think my favorite topic, and this is one of the reasons I'll hopefully have some success in this field, is that it's whatever I'm working on right now. That is kind of the mindset that you have to have, is that data science you're always going to have to learn, and you have to drum up that excitement about whatever you're working on in order to really progress and to focus on it. So I think that's a relatively difficult mindset to develop, but if you can cultivate that, it's going to be very valuable for you in your learning journey.
Amazing. Another question from Archavalia. I'm a retired Indian Air Force personnel and I have been looking for roles since 10 months. I enrolled in APDS, Advanced Data Program and Data Science in IIM Kolkata. Okay, what's the question? What do I need to learn on my own so that I can start working at the earliest?
So
So this is the course name.
Yep.
Yes.
I would almost always recommend learning the programming first. So for me, at the very least, if I can program all of the math that's needed. And by writing out the math in code, I then understand it a lot more clearly. So if you can also do a lot more with programming, right? Like you can build stuff. It doesn't have to just be data science. If you're looking to get a job, being a very strong programmer is something that carries a tremendous amount of weight. Is
Yes.
very, very useful.
Makes sense. And also Archavalia says that I worked with aircraft crash failure data of IAF and minimized the failures by 400%. I used Fishbone, Pareto, and MS Access. Wow.
That's awesome. I would
Exactly.
definitely put that on your
Oh,
resume.
I think that this is huge. So, okay, Ken, quickly taking another question. Can you explain the difference between science and data science? Okay. Now, this is
Yeah.
very
So
specific.
I don't think that. Well, it depends. So science is like a lot broader category. I mean, so you have like biology and you have chemistry and you have like physics is technically a science. Um, Data science is just a subcategory of that. It's wherever you're using like advanced statistical methods, wherever you're analyzing some sort of data. So like physics, where you're running simulations, physics, where you're using machine learning models, I would technically branch that into data science. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. There's going to be some overlap. So I'd say that data science, depending on what type of broader science category that you're talking about, is part of almost all of those things. In biology, you have like bioinformatics. That has a tremendous amount of overlap with data science. So I wouldn't think of them as different things by any mean. I would just think of them as one is a subcategory of the other, and it touches almost every branch of science at this point. It's just a new name for statistics. So
Right, exactly.
in the educational space.
Exactly. Okay, just going a little different from the topic, Ken. I wanted to know more about the YouTube channel. Obviously, we are close to 104K subscribers on YouTube, and it's just running. I just saw like almost 2 weeks back, it was just 100K, and there are almost 4K folks more joining in, subscribe to the Ken Jee channel. So, want to know more about it. How did the journey begin? Why did you decide to start making videos? What was the reason behind it?
So, it's funny. It happened kind of serendipitously. I had to make a video for one of my grad school courses. And the
Right.
video was just like our end of year project. We could, I was taking it online and we had to submit just a video version of what we're working on. And so I posted the video on YouTube because it's easier to share it that way. And so, it's funny how it works is I hadn't thought about it for 3 months, and I looked back, and this video is my very first video where I built a recurrent neural net to predict Bitcoin and altcoin prices. And
Okay.
I went in and like I was like, wow, there's like 1,000 people had watched this video. And for me, that was an astronomically high number. And I was like, wow, people are really interested in this type of content. And then I started to think
Right.
like, well, I really enjoyed making that project. Why don't I try making a couple more videos? So I was coming into data science from a business background. I worked in management
Right.
consulting. I had a business degree. I studied economics in undergrad. And then I was now doing this master's in computer science degree. And I didn't find any information on the internet really about what that journey was like moving into data science from a field that was non-technical. So I started to make a couple of videos. I think my first real like talking head video where I'd sit and talk like this was about how you make that transition from business into data science. What did you need to know? You needed SQL, you needed coding, you needed some math background, you needed to do projects, whatever it might be. And from there, I started making more and more frequent videos. It is kind of an addictive thing. I just liked making it. I loved engaging with with the community there, and to me, I get a tremendous joy in feeling like I'm helping other people. Hopefully, actually helping other people. But
Oh yes, obviously you are.
and you know, getting the comments, getting the feedback, it just made me want to create more. And uh, fortunately, it's been able to really grow. And I would hope that I've been able to impact a large number of people in the space at this point in time. And so,
Oh,
I don't
definitely.
think there was never a plan per se. There was just, hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to keep making these. The plan is to just keep making videos and keep having fun with it. Because when you stop having fun with it, it feels like work, whatever it might be. Um, and, that's kind of what kills it at the end. So my goal has always
Totally.
just been to keep it light. In my more recent videos, I've been experimenting a little bit more with some of my kind of interesting sense of humor and with the video editing and making some adjustments. So it's really been just a fun thing. Like you can see in the thumbnail, I've 6 fingers in there. That's a little weird.
Oh
But
yes.
yeah, it kind of catches your eyes. Things like that. It's just adding my own
Wow.
personal stamp, and hopefully people have been enjoying it.
Oh, definitely can. You're adding all the value that one can add to videos, and you're just doing it so well. I personally go out there. I check all your videos. I understand very little out of it. Obviously, I'm not from a data science background, nowhere close to data. But then, obviously, I know the things that you explain make so much sense to me. So very cool, and keep
Thank
doing
you,
that.
Ravit.
Keep them coming. Keep all those stuff all going with those amazing humor videos. So we have Diana who says, "I really like the answer. Love what you're doing, working on right now. Life advice." So Diana is George Fitkin's wife, and they host the Good Data Morning Show every Friday, mostly.
Awesome. Well, I've been talking to the team over there. Hopefully, I'll be able to make something work with them. They have an awesome show as well.
Oh yes, definitely. So we have Sasha who's asking about hashtag 66 days of data. Do you have any preferred time management techniques that help you squeeze those extracurricular projects into your daily work life? For instance, Pomodoro principle, time grade, etc., etc.
Yeah, so I'll occasionally use Pomodoro. I am a big believer that you need to schedule your whole life. You just need to get like have a time slot for everything that you're doing. So that's what I do every
Exactly.
morning. I sit down. The first thing I do is I write down like what I'm doing every half hour and go all the way through that
Wow.
way. To me, if you have a time slot for everything, you're holding yourself accountable to it. I don't always stick to it. I take breaks and do those things, but I try to schedule my breaks. I try to tell myself, write a list of instructions for what I should do each day. It's kind of like programming a little bit, right? So um, you have some languages that are compiled, and so you write all the code, you compile it, and then you run it. That's how I think of it. Is every morning I like write the code and compile it, and then for the rest of the day I just have to execute it. So I take that additional layer of thought, like what do I have to work on, what do I have to do, and I kind of throw that out the window because I've already written the instructions for myself. I just have to execute on it. That
Wow.
little bit of dissonance, that little bit of extra thought that goes out the window, that's what's always held me back. And I found that if I can get rid of that, if I can just get started, and I know what I'm working on, then I can be very effective. So I also recommend doing the most important thing early in the morning or like first thing. That's when I
Yep.
find that I have the most energy. But that's kind of my philosophy around that. We'll see if it works over time. But I have if I don't schedule my day, I'm in trouble. I don't get too much done.
Oh wow, that book seems to be very good in terms of keeping the timetable going, and being having that work life balance is very much important, obviously. So, and yes, we can see that activeness in the morning, can we can see that energy in you, obviously.
Exactly. I always bring it. I didn't even
Yes.
drink coffee today.
See, that's how it works. Okay, so we have Neeraj Satpal here. Kenji, how to handle the challenge of integrating data into decision making processes if there is lack of management support?
Yeah. So for this one, there's something that I think everyone in data science consulting deals with on a day-to-day basis. It is extremely difficult, but I highly value quick wins. I think prototyping is very important. And if you can get some traction, if you can show that the data is making a difference, if you can show, even at a very small scale, that your solution could work or could create value, could create surplus, that's a very effective way to do it. Um, Almost every business stakeholder, yeah, every decision maker, this is a kind of antiquated thought, but they want something that they can hold in their hand. They want a product. They want something that they can see. This goes in, this comes out. Giving people insights isn't always that effective. Giving a dashboard, for example, that they can experiment with might be a more effective solution. So I almost always transition my negotiation or communication to tangible things rather than me just saying things or putting stuff out there. Like, here is this thing, try it out. This is how it works for your company. Whether it's, hey, we're building this really advanced like pipeline that is a customer recommender system. Let's just take like spin up a very small like a Streamlit or Flask app and let them play with it and plug in customers so they can see what's happening or they can see the results that are coming out of it. So to me, it might be a long-winded answer for that question, but that's, in my opinion, from what I've learned so far, that is the most effective way to get that buy-in, is to just give them something to play with.
Wow, that's amazing. I guess that definitely answers Neeraj's question. We have an interesting question from. Okay, I missed the question. No, here it is by Donabel Santos. What are some of the things that surprised you about your journey in data science? One, you started this journey. That is some things that you thought differently before you started. Interesting question.
Yeah, so something that comes front of mind is that I thought I thought this learning journey would be a lot more solitary, and definitely some of the coding things, some of the learning is very self-directed. But especially after I started making YouTube videos, after I started engaging in LinkedIn, I found that there's an incredible community around data science, especially on those two platforms. I've been able to meet some really good friends, some collaborators, some potential business partners through the data science community, through this work that's being done. And so I would encourage anyone who is learning or getting into the field to really branch out. Don't look at this completely as, hey, this is something I have to learn. This is something that I can learn as a group. There's a ton of resources out there. There's a ton of people that can help push me to get better or take things to the next level. So that might not be necessarily like strictly data science technically related, but it is part of the broader data science journey. And that's something I'm also extremely grateful for. You know, like I've had opportunities like this. I've been able to talk with incredible people. And that's a lot of the fun of it for me as well.
Exactly. Makes a lot of sense there. So it's obviously a little unexpected when we get into something and then turns out to be obviously more on the positive end. Sometimes it can be negative too. But talking of something new, I wanted to also ask you about a podcast that you started, Ken, about the podcast, which is Ken's Nearest Neighbors podcast.
Got my shirt on today. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Super good.
the podcast is something that that's been one of my big initiatives for the second half of the year. For basically the last 6 months, I've been interviewing people, and I was initially putting them on my YouTube channel. But something that I learned about content creation is that you never just do something once, right? So if I'm making a video, why would I not also put it on the main podcasting platforms? That doesn't make sense to not have out there, because it's a very little bit extra amount of work when I can also potentially reach a lot more people. But for me, interviewing people, creating the podcast has been great in two ways. So the first way is that, you know, I get to like talk to these people and learn about their lives, learn about their experiences, and hopefully take something away that I didn't learn before or didn't know before. I've always learned from examples. I've always learned from kind of getting my hands dirty. I've always learned from a story. And talking to these people, you get to hear how they, how they got into data science. You get to hear how they're learning their techniques, the types of projects they're doing. So hopefully I'm able to share these experiences and stories with other people. And again, I think that is the most effective way of learning. And you also get to see from talking to these people, the more detailed they get, you get to understand the steps and the process they went through. It's not just like, oh, this person is a like my most recent video, oh, this person is a senior data scientist consultant. No, he didn't start there, right? He worked his way through a bunch of different progressions, and he eventually got there. And that makes the field, in my opinion, a lot more accessible, because these people aren't just like monoliths that you have no similarities with. If you're sitting down for a 40-minute, hour-long conversation, you're getting you're finding a lot of things, hopefully, in these people that are similar to how you view the world, or they had the same fears or concerns about breaking in that you did. But they're a year, 5 years, 10 years further than you, and you can 100% learn from that. The other thing is that, very selfishly, I've been able to talk to some people that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to through the podcast. You can say that's a great networking opportunity. And I learned that from my friend Sanyam, who runs the Chai Time Data Science podcast, which is also an incredible podcast. But he was able to talk to all of these Kaggle grandmasters, all of these people who are his idols in the space, by giving them a platform to share what they're interested in or what's going on in their lives. So exactly. I think that's, selfishly, that's an awesome way for me to connect with really interesting people and to just learn from them. I mean, there's nothing special about what I'm doing. I'm just kind of opening my life up a little bit more to the world and hopefully sharing the conversations that I have that I find impactful.
Yes, definitely. And I'm sure I've had a view at those podcasts. Those look amazing. Keep them coming, Ken. Yes.
Thank you. Well, I've actually... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Well, I hired an intern, one of my friends who's been a big supporter of the channel, and I'm actually getting quite a bit of help with the podcast. So, that's something I'm taking very, very seriously. We're looking at this as a big growth lever in 2021. And hopefully we're going to get some, well, actually, I already know we have some incredible people coming on over the course of next year and the next couple of months.
Definitely, Ken. Sounds amazing. Can you guess who this person is, Ken?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Hi, Kate.
Hey, Kate. I'll plug, obviously, Data Conference, which is happening on the 9th of Feb, and it's happening for 3 days now. So don't forget to go and register for the Data Conference, guys.
And if you're not sick of me, I'll be speaking there as well. So be sure to tune in.
No way. We are so happy to have you, Ken. So obviously we are not getting sick of you any soon. So from Kevin Manco, a business into data science or data science into business, how can you learn both at the same time? Okay, obviously I think you have already shared about the transition. So I think this question might be very much similar to that. But I think Kevin is wanting to know a little about how at the same time you could do both of them.
Yeah, I think that the problem solving process is very similar in both of them, right? And if you're working, I like beat projects to death pretty much. But if you're working on projects and thinking about the end user, you have to involve some of the business elements. So my advice would be like, maybe start with a pretty simple data science project, but using real data, maybe for someone else, maybe for a nonprofit, whatever that might be. But you'll quickly learn how to interact with stakeholders. You'll quickly learn, okay, this is valuable. This is how I can communicate this information. And you'll also pick up some of the technical skills. So in short, do a project, but for someone else.
That makes a lot of sense. Do it for someone else, but do it. Okay, someone says free Udemy course. Yes, we are giving Ken is giving 5 of his free Udemy courses, so don't forget to ask some amazing questions. There are many questions which are coming in, Ken. I can't take all of them, obviously, but surely that's the reason. What we'll be doing is we'll be announcing the winners maybe tomorrow or next week. I and Ken would go about and see the questions, and then we can decide to give away those 5 Udemy courses. Which are these Udemy courses, and how will it help them? Can you just
Yeah. So
highlight us with it? Yes.
the course I created, it's called How to Start a Career in Data Science. I did that in partnership with 365 Data Science, and the big thing there is understanding a little bit more about how to just structure your presence so that you can be really appealing to employers. So it's not just about what you know in data science, it's how strong your resume is. It's how like advanced a GitHub profile you have. Like, what does your Kaggle profile look like? Also, how do you approach the interview process? What can you expect? And like, how do you go about interviewing in an effective way to maximize your chances? Something that I've realized from talking to a lot of people interested in data science roles is that very few people go about the interview process how like a data scientist would, right? We're not tracking our data. We're not doing the small things that provide the most return, and return is like actually getting a job. So the course goes through kind of end to end the interview process, what you can expect. We also have some questions in there as well. And hopefully it would help you to land a job or really increase your chances for getting a position you'd be most excited about. So, that's something I put a lot of work into. I think it took me 3-4 months to create.
Definitely.
And, I was very fortunate to work with 365 Data Science because they allowed me to increase the production quality. I would not have been able to produce this on my own. So I hope people enjoy it. And, of course, if you don't get it for free, it's either on sale now, or we also have a promo link where it's on sale for, I think, like $10 US. My goal
Wow.
is not to rip anyone off with this. It's to make sure that this is affordable. And, if you appreciate whatever comes out of it, if you land a job, whatever it is, just, comment on a video or something. And that's that's as much as I need.
Can we obviously believe you about your courses, about your videos, so you don't need to worry about, you don't need to even explain us about it. It's all cool. uh Question from Padmanabhan. Okay, hey Ken, here with a question to Quinn. How do you keep up with advances in data science given all the other things you do, including your full-time job, YouTube, etc.? Interesting. Obviously, I know now that you keep a book out there, and that's your loophole. That's how you, that's the actual secret of Ken. Keep a book aside, write everything, and that's how you balance everything. Still, I also had that question, Ken, where how is it even possible? Those videos need so much editing work, getting those videos right. And for me, recording 1 minute video gets taxing at times. I'm wondering, how do you go about, for hours you do those videos? How is it possible, and how do you actually do it?
So I think for me, there's two things. So the first is creating a process around it. So it takes me a lot shorter to edit a video than it used to.
Mhm.
Eight
Yes,
eight minute video, it maybe takes me like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to edit now. It used to take me 5 or 6 hours. I've just gotten better at using the tools. I'm more used to it. The other thing is creating as much overlap between these things as possible. I think that that's very valuable. So let's say I have a project for work where I have to learn something. Can I also make YouTube content around that same concept that I have to learn? And is that same concept also something that's kind of new and cutting edge on the field? So I try to kind of layer all of those things as much as possible, and that helps me to get, I believe it's economies of scope rather than economies of scale from anything that I'm doing. Of course, it doesn't always work that way. But for example, in work, I'm working on some dashboards and also some AWS stuff, like with Lambda functions, which I've never really worked with that much before. And I'm also working on a YouTube project that has a very similar kind of structure. So I'm able to learn those things. Technically, I guess I can bill as well. But it pays dividends in those two different areas of my life. Which again, that's the same thing I do with content creation.
Right.
If I record a podcast, I can put it on YouTube, I can put it on Apple Podcasts, I can put it on Spotify. I can cut that video up
Exactly.
into small clips and put them up on different platforms, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, whatever it is. So I would start looking and really taking time to analyze what areas of your life do overlap and how you can get them to have carryover there.
Exactly. It makes a lot of sense because I think time management plays a very important role. Again, the processes that you put behind, you need to learn from each video that you're doing, and that I think minimizes your time and gets you much bolder in sense where you're talking about 5 hours just for 8 minutes video, and then just coming back to 1.5 hour or maybe just 2 hours for that 8 minutes video later. So makes a lot of sense. Okay, sounds good. Okay, one interesting question about Kaggle. Being an Kaggle advocate of Kaggle, your 2 cents on how someone can make the most out of the platform. Interesting.
So making the most out of the platform, I recommend engaging in the community there. And there's really good forums. There's also a job board there, which people don't realize. They also have the micro courses. It's a
Yeah.
very robust platform. And admittedly, like I still need to do more on Kaggle. It's been one of my goals this year. I haven't necessarily stuck to that as much as I would have liked to. Kind of life gets in the way sometimes, but just being active on any platform gets you recognized, gets you noticed, helps you to maximize your potential there. So share your work, do projects, try to help other people, try to respond to comments if you can. I think just being an active member in any community is going to create value somewhere, whether it's for you or for other people.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think it's more about community centric and how engaged you are out there. If someone's coming here and asking you questions, he's just gained something that, okay, Kaggle has a job board there. We didn't know about it. And now suddenly, because I also didn't know, I've gone through Kaggle and all of those things, but then I've never seen a job board. And this is new for me because I've just learned this from you. So I think engaging and getting to learn more from these videos and reaching out to people, I think that would make a lot of sense. Okay, talking about community, I had a question for you in terms of community, but I wanted to ask you actually, how often do you visit conferences?
As much as I can. Obviously, the YouTube stuff and the content and attracting more of a following is relatively new for me. I mean, this has pretty much all happened this year, and this year it happened to kind of coincide with everything shutting down. But next year,
Yeah,
the following years, I'm really looking forward to attending a lot more of those. I'd really like to speak at some of those. That's something I'm passionate about. I would hope that I'm fairly comfortable public speaking at this point as well. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I was on a panel with Kate earlier this year at GSGO.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm going to be part of the dedicated conference coming up, which I'm also extremely excited about. So,
yeah.
I would expect if the opportunities were there for me to speak and things like that, I would like to attend, you know, one every other month or something like that.
Yeah, we would want to see you very frequently because what you're sharing, Ken, is amazing. Because at DSGO, I heard you speaking about personal branding, and that was completely off topic to obviously what data science or what you were doing. But you had such great insights to share there, and that is, I think that was the time when I thought, no, I need Ken on my show as well. I need to talk to him about what he's doing, he's doing sports analytics, and he's talking about personal branding. He knows all his stuff so well. So I think we need you on more conferences, and I'm glad that you are on the data career conference speaker list, and I would be looking forward to that definitely.
Absolutely. Well,
George, yep. Go ahead,
awesome.
please.
Thank you, George. Well, that's also been a learning process for me too, is that the more I speak, the more I hear myself saying the same things. And it's kind of fun to think about, okay, what is a different take I can have on something? What new things can I bring to the table to talk about? And that's not something I want. I don't want someone to tune into my podcast and hear me saying the same thing over time.
Exactly.
I think it's really important for me to learn and evolve and to hopefully come to new insights about data science or whether it's branding, content creation, whatever it is. I think there are
Right.
things that are tried and true over time. but there are kind of fringe things that do change, and they're fun to analyze and talk about.
Yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense. That's George mentions that as well, that he wants you on his Good Data Morning Show, and George is doing amazing on his Good Data Morning Show. I'll just give you a glimpse. I am visiting actually the Good Data Morning Show on the third or the second, yes, 2nd of December. So this is how it looks, and it's hosted by George and Diana. So can't wait for it. So I think you have another invitation waiting for you, Ken.
Yeah, well,
Maybe you could
I
just
also
jump.
enjoy I enjoy George's YouTube channel as well. I'm pretty,
Oh
so since
yes,
I'm most active there,
lights
I
and
try
data.
and keep tabs on everyone. So yeah, definitely check that out if you haven't. And Ravit's obviously.
Thank you, Ken. But yeah, lights and data is definitely one of our favorites. The editing and the stuff what George is doing is incredible, because and definitely a lot to learn from. I'll just give everyone a quick glance of lights and data. So George, this is getting about you now, but definitely great. So yes, about sports analytics, we have many questions there, Ken. I know we can't take all of them, but what I'll ask folks is to stay tight and you will answer all of those questions. Maybe after the show, or maybe when you get time over the weekend, or according to your calendar, the book you're having there. So yeah, that's there. Also,
Yeah,
one.
well,
Okay,
one thing
yeah,
that I do, and I've been very I don't know how sustainable it is, but I still respond to every question, comment on my YouTube channels, on my YouTube channel. So if you leave a question there, I will answer it.
amazing.
Assuming it's not like explain data science to me from A to Z. Um, but I'll answer pretty much
Obviously.
almost everything that takes a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, and obviously those who are not aware of Ken's, I don't think anyone here doesn't know your channel. Still, I'll let them know. Okay, this is Ken's personal YouTube channel, so you can go and learn a lot about data science here, sports analytics, and definitely a lot about Ken himself. So yes, Ken, this is super cool. Whenever I go to your channel out there and I'm so lost, I just want to be there looking at those videos. The creativity that you bring to each video is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah. Okay, we have a question about education system, which is a little different. Kalyan Prasad asks how data science is transforming the education system. What are your thoughts?
So I read a book a while ago. It's called Weapons of Math Destruction. And one of
Yes.
the case studies they talked about was how the incentive system for education was really flawed. So a lot of schools, colleges in the US, they were trying to improve their college ranking. And the college ranking, they would like plant more trees, they'd have arboretums, they would build new buildings. But until fairly recently, the college ranking didn't include cost of education in their, I guess, like model or whatever they were using. And so all these schools started spending a ton of money, and the cost of education in the US skyrocketed. I mean, that isn't the only reason. There's other factors, but I think that's a way that data science or models kind of broke the education system in a certain way. And I also think
Yeah.
that it just shows the power of incentives, the power that these models have over education in general. So I think that on the other side of that, we're getting a lot better at using data science to measure how effective education is. We're getting a lot better at using data science to see, okay, is this major or is this curriculum going to be effective in the real world? So I think that although I talked about kind of a negative example, it just shows how important it is for this system. But there's also plenty of ways that we're using data science to improve in a positive way. You just look at,
Yes.
for example, my Udemy course. I get ratings every day, and I get comments on how I can improve, and I can look at that data and hopefully make a better course or create more value for other people. Same thing with my YouTube stuff. I can look at that data, I can analyze it, and I have analyzed it pretty aggressively to figure out, hopefully, what is going to be the most compelling, what is going to be the most interesting, and what's going to be the most valuable.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Donabelle Santos says, okay, great book, Kenji, Weapons of Mass Destruction by Kathy Hall. So, yes, that's there. Okay, you were talking about Data Catered Conference. Kate Stratney is here and she says, go join Data Catered Conference. Guys, sign up. Obviously, Kenji is speaking there, and there are many more. I can actually give them a quick glimpse about how it looks. And Ken, I think you're already there on the Data Catered page. Here we go. Yes. Datacated.co. You just need to go there, sign up. Conference themes. So there are 3 days, and day one, day two, day three. Amazing. Starts on 9th Feb, ends on Feb 11th. Oh, Kenji is here. Kenji, you're wearing an
Oh
amazing
wow,
t-shirt.
prime real estate on the page. Thanks, Kate.
I don't know why we can't see half the photos, but yes. Scott Taylor is there, Suzanne is there, Mika is there, Harpreet is there, George Ficken obviously is there, Christina is there, Mike Wimmer, 11 years. Yes, amazing guy. So everyone's out there, and I think it's time to actually go for this conference without a doubt. I've already signed up. I do sign up twice for this one because obviously it's Kate. We need to have that energy going. So, Scott Taylor, I'm data catered. Everyone's data catered.
I will say Kate has some of the coolest shirts that are coming out. I don't think mine pales in comparison. So I'm
No,
excited to get that, and I will happily wear it.
no, definitely. Everything's super cool. And I know there's one question about leadership, a little different. Can you talk a little about the four disciplines of execution and positive leadership?
Yeah, so those are two of my favorite books actually. Admittedly, I do more reading about performance, about um, like human psychology than I
Yeah.
even read about data science. Um, and the Four Disciplines of Execution is one of the books that really helps me to run my life. So it talks about I let me see if I can remember the four disciplines off the top of my head. So the first one is set a wildly important goal. And so for me this
Wow.
year, my wildly important goal was um, like building a really robust YouTube community. That's something I really was focused on doing. Um, the next thing is you focus on lead metrics rather than lag metrics. So a lead metric is something you have complete control over. So I have control over how many videos I post a week. So I wanted to post at least one video a week, every week this year. That's something I have complete control over, and it's very highly correlated with YouTube growth. Right? If I post more videos, it's likely that my channel will grow. A lag metric is something that follows that. So maybe it's the number of subscribers I have. You want to measure those, but you don't care as much about those as the ones that you do control. That's something that's very, very important. Is you want to focus on um, what you actually have influence over. Otherwise, you'll get extremely disappointed in the results almost every time. The next thing is that you want to like keep track. You want to create a leaderboard. You want to keep score. If you see people playing basketball in the gym or something, uh, if there's a scoreboard, they're going to be going at it a lot more, like they're going to be a lot more intense about it, rather than if they're just
Hey,
just shooting around. And then the last thing is to have someone to hold you accountable. And so I have some YouTube communities. I have an accountability partner to help me keep that going. And I don't think I would have had nearly the growth, or I wouldn't say that I'm successful by any means, but I wouldn't have had nearly the amount of perceived success that I've had this year without working through those systems. And
definitely.
then Positive Leadership is just a book about um, how to use positive reinforcement in the workplace, and I think that's really important, especially when you're working for yourself, kind of self speak and also being in it, framing things right. Like we should be grateful for all the opportunities we have. I'm so grateful for you having me on the show, also having
Obviously.
access to being able to speak to so many people to share kind of like what I've learned, whether you agree with it or not. And it's been a fun ride, and that's the best way to go about it, I think.
Ken, you are like an inspiration for everyone out there, and you've explained these four disciplines so very well because now we understand how it works. And it needs that actually passion, and you have that passion and you keep that running. It's not that everything looks good. It's not that easy, creating those data science videos, and getting it, that giving it that personal touch to those videos. That's what you do, and that's why people get so well connected with you. Even if when we talk about hashtag 66 days of data, you had a certain motive to it. You actually made it so well, you framed it that well, that folks can connect it to it that easily, and they want to complete that 66 days of data, and then they are going over and above it. But yeah, definitely about talking, I wanted to also ask about you about this. See, this will go on forever. I think it's already 1 hour. I know you'll have to run, but I won't let you go without asking, knowing about more about hashtag 66 days of data. How does it work? If I am a person who opts for hashtag 66 days of data, what do I need to do now? What's the next step? How does
Yeah,
it work?
so just a high level overview. So I'm a big
Yep.
believer that creating sustainable data science habits is the best way to learn the field, to break in. Rather
Right.
than wearing yourself out, spending 4 hours a day for 8 weeks trying to learn it and then forget everything. If you're creating these habits of constant learning and also sharing your work, that's going to take you way further than just a maximal exertion of effort and getting yourself sick of the field. So the
Right.
66 days of data, 66 days is, according to, I think it's James Clear, the average number of days that it takes to establish a new habit. And so
Right.
the focus of 66 days of data is just habit forming. And it's pretty simple. So all you have to do is you have to learn data science 66 days straight for at least 5 minutes a day. Obviously, we recommend more, but if you're in a pinch, like, it's better to do 5 minutes. That's something that I think anyone can do, even if they just put their head down on the pillow and they're like, "Oh, I forgot." Like, you can code for 5 minutes or do something like that, or even just read for 5 minutes, whatever that might be.
Right.
Um, and again, getting in the habit of doing that just every day is extremely important. And the next thing is to share your work. So sharing your work holds you accountable to whatever communities you're in. So you can share it on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on the Discord server, and it also gets you in the habit of engaging with these communities and
Right.
putting yourself out there. From my perspective, you've heard my branding talk. One of the most important things you can do to land a job, to get more opportunities for yourself, is to just put yourself out there and to share what you're working on. People are they're scared they're going to get criticized. They're scared that people are going to make fun of them, whatever it is. But for the most part, the internet's a fairly friendly place. If you're clear that you're learning and this is something that you're not an expert, you're just putting this out there, you're tracking your progress. People actually love to get involved in the journey. If you get stuck on something and you're like, "Hey, I was working on this, but I got stuck here." There's so many incredible
Right.
people in this community that say, "Oh, you got stuck here. Have you tried this? Have you tried this?"
Wow.
And again, to me, that the community, the people involved, I have some admins on the server, I have some friends involved. It's been incredible to see that, and to hopefully see so many more people grow in the future. So if you want to get involved, you can join the Discord. I've written a Medium article about exactly what it is, basically just what I just said. I made a video, I think that's the pinned video on my channel, it's called "Why I'm
Right.
Starting Data Science Over Again." And all the details are there. But bottom line, you just work for 5 minutes minimum, and then post about it with hashtag 66 days of data.
Amazing. That's super cool.
And
I
I
guess.
hope everyone will be involved.
Oh, definitely. Why not? Someone from the 66 days of data is your Alex. Okay. I was just pulling the website. So this is your website, right? 66
Yes,
days of
that
data.com.
one isn't too updated, but it still has a link to the
Oh,
Discord. It still has all the information there.
okay. It's
Um,
here.
yeah, so you can click that. You can see the Discord server. It should pop up
Right.
an invite or help you join.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like it might not be
No,
active,
I'm
but
already there. I'm
oh, okay,
already there
okay,
in the Discord server. Yes, that's the reason.
okay,
So I
perfect.
think, yes, folks can join it from here, but this is super cool. So, Ken, what an amazing, amazing journey there. And yes, I don't want to end this, but here we go. It's a wrap to the show, and what an amazing journey. Loved it. Thanks for being on the show, Ken. I'm sure people loved it here. Honorable says this is a great session. Thank you, Kenji. So, Kenji,
Thank you,
you're the
Dharma.
star.
Thank you so much
Yes,
for having me, Ravit. This was awesome. I'm really excited that this was this
yes.
was possible, and hopefully we'll get to do it again sometime.
Definitely, we are doing that, and we can't. I'm waiting to see you at the Data Catered conference. So, if there are any more coming, let us know. And before you leave, for all the folks, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to talk to you, if they want to know about more about hashtag 66 days of data, about your YouTube channel, about your podcast, about your plans to write the book, about how to buy this T-shirt that you're wearing, about yourself. So, is it on the Merc already, or you've just bought it for yourself? The
Oh, these
T-shirt.
these are on the market. There, you can find it in the shop in my YouTube store. So if you go on the
Amazing.
YouTube channel, there's like a store tab. I have a couple of kind of other fun shirts as well that are kind of memes or jokes from my videos. So you could go to just my channel. So click on my picture up there at the top. There you go. Just click
Yes.
on that, and then there's a next to community. There's a store tab.
Oh yes,
Uh,
it's here.
yeah, there you go. And so those are the things we have, like a
Wow.
model training shirt, like a signal from the noise, and then the 66 days of data shirt is also available there. Um,
Wow.
those are all just kind of fun designs. There's I mostly made them for myself, but if other people wanted to buy them, they're always welcome to. But if anyone
Oh,
wants to reach me, LinkedIn is a great place. I batch review all my LinkedIn messages, so I review them once a week and try to get back to most people. YouTube is by far the best place to reach me in the comment section. Again, I respond to effectively every comment there. Twitter is
right.
also good, but I made a point not to respond to Twitter DMs, because if I responded to all of the platforms, all the messages on all the platforms, I would never be able to answer them all, and I'd go crazy. So again, YouTube comments is the
Exactly.
best place. Probably LinkedIn or my email is the second best place. So
Oh,
I'm looking
super.
forward to engaging with even more of you guys, and yeah, this
Definitely.
has been incredible.
Thanks, Ken. And before leaving, I knew this was coming, and Harpreet, the naughty one, obviously he's here, and he's like, "Why aren't you subscribed to Ken's channel?" I will do it right away. It's my other email address, Harpreet. Don't take my case here. Smash that subscribe, and I'll do it on air for everyone,
Oh,
for
thank you,
folks to
Harpreet. I
know.
appreciate it.
Here we go.
Oh, you guys are the best. Thank you.
So this is how it is, but amazing session, Kenji, amazing journey. I know there's a lot more to it, but for now we'll just tune off here, and maybe next year we'll come up with some more content for folks and some more things that you have achieved there. So yes.
Absolutely. And so my new podcast episode just launched today. I'm going to post about that on LinkedIn in a second here. So I'd love for everyone to engage there, but also don't forget to watch the rerun of this show on Ravit's
Yes.
YouTube channel. So
Thank you, Ken, and you also visiting Harpreet's podcast. That's what I know. So
yes, we're
yes,
recording next week, I think. So it'll be a good time.
amazing. I think Ken, you everywhere. So we'll be tuning in wherever you are. So thanks again, and thank you everyone for joining in. And this was amazing. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes.